the story is. That's what matters.
Right.
You will always learn something. No matter where you go, you learn. Oh, I don't want to be around those people anymore. Or, that's a great group of people, but I'm not growing.
Right.
Learn all of these things. Now, why am I getting up on the ladder? It's because I'm damn near the shortest person in the room, so I got to make myself a little bit.
We should just continue this conversation, by the way.
Yeah,
It's already gone.
Oh, it's already going?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So what it boils down to is that in your journey, you're gonna have to make some really, really tough decisions. And those decisions are gonna have to be, and I truly don't want to point it out, this way, selfish. How is this serving me?
Right.
And how is it serving me so that I can serve others? That's what it boils down to.
Because you have to learn from it first before you can do it for others.
Absolutely. And your main goal, I'm telling you, your main goal is to serve others. Because that's where the biggest enjoyment is going to come from. Because when you eat alone, the food doesn't taste as good as when you eat with others who want to be at the table. Metaphor, by the way, again. Analogy, again. Because when people want to be at the table and you're serving them because you want to, because you have the wherewithal, the knowledge, and the means to do so, food tastes so much better. So we want you to go and do the things in life, whatever it is you want to do. We want that for you and life is not always going to be fun, by the way. It's not. But it can be rewarding if you follow that gut. That dumbass gut. So tell me what you're hearing.
Sometimes you know when you have to start something new, or like you'll know when you know. And sometimes, yes, that's
And you'll feel it, and you'll see it. Like I saw it last week. He saw it. Then the energy in the room, then you feel it, and then I think you have to be really unaware of yourself to not make an advance on it and figure out
Right.
what it's about. Why is that feeling? Why is that energy? And then try to figure that out. And so I spent all last week like trying to figure out what was that. And a lot of it too is getting over my own ego of what am I supposed to be doing to make this better for somebody else, right? And it really just came down to you showed up to do what you said you were going to do. And currently, this is the situation, right? That hasn't changed. We haven't made leaps and bounds into changing that. But so you showed up and you did that job in that sense. But I was in this space of I need to make it fun for her, right? And that right now, that's not the setup, right? That's not. It's fun. I think the conversations and it's these kind of conversations and being able to be in a group of people. I really like that part. That part's fun. Setting the camera up and shooting two dudes against a background isn't super fun. But in my mind, I'm always like, every week I was like, it needs to be fun. How are we gonna make this fun, right? And so that was my ego. I had to get out of the way of that. But knowing that you're traveling in a direction, things may change. Like Robert said earlier, before you got here, they may change. They drop of a hat. They may what you want today might not be what you want tomorrow. But you're definitely moving in a direction. We've just been here to help facilitate some of the things you need to learn in that process. So I had to kind of just step down a little bit and say, all right, this is where we are, right? And then how to move on from this point. So it's a weight off my shoulders too, right? It's one of those things where it doesn't get easier.
No, it doesn't get easier. No, not at all.
You don't know how to do it any better. It just you know how to acknowledge it earlier, and then we can do something about it. So, yeah. So go with that part. That part is keep the fun part. And we were talking earlier before you got here. What's really fun about all of this, I think, at least from my perspective, is the dealing with the people, right? And knowing that I've learned a certain amount of things for a few years that I can now turn around and at least teach a little bit of it to somebody else, or facilitate somebody else learning something that I put in. I had to go and get the things that served me first, like you were saying, so that I could then turn around and facilitate a place for someone to come in and learn anything.
Right.
Right.
That's what both of us.
So like that's the most fun part to me is dealing with the people and figuring out what people, who they are, what they want, what they like. But we couldn't do any of this without getting the work done for ourselves first, leading up to it. And that's what you're experiencing moving into your part of the future. So it's cool.
It's all cool.
Yeah.
We gotta get this show on the road though.
Yeah.
Get it done.
And so that means you're out. This is your last day here then.
Second, not next week, but the week after my last, because I'm snowboarding next week.
Okay. Where you going to move?
Sugar Mountain in North Carolina.
Okay.
They have like a 24-hour webcam on it.
Okay.
It's been raining the past like week. It's
Yeah.
like all grassy. I'm just praying that it snows before the
I'm
weekend.
telling you.
It's
no.
gonna be cold enough.
Is
It's
it
gonna be cold
to
enough,
snow?
but it's probably not gonna snow. So.
Is it gonna be cold enough to freeze though to snow? Will it be less than 32 degrees?
It'll be less than 32 degrees, but it says like sunny. But then they make snow on the mountain, but it's so loud
Right.
and obnoxious.
Right.
But I mean, I'd rather that than nothing.
So with that being the case,
Yeah.
Since this is already rolling, and I think this is a lot of our pre-conversations usually are where a lot of the meat
Mhm.
is in a lot of the stuff that we do. What questions, if any, do you have? It could be about anything.
Oh, the premise, the way you set up the question is not the way not the way to get the answer.
Okay, so but like
Which is,
So-
give me two questions.
Right, okay. He goes like that way, I'm like, all right, so questions, and even from the perspective of what, because as time is still kind of narrowing down, we're still here, right? It's not like you can't pick up the phone and never call back, right? Or have a place to kind of figure things out. So, are there things that you've experienced that you need more help with, or what else is there in this little part right now for you?
It's a big question. I'm not sure. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
Okay.
I don't know.
And that's fine. I don't know is necessary response, but I think sometimes it has to start thinking about those things that you're. But you're so young that it's gonna change. It's gonna be something different right now. What are you gonna do? Cheer coaching?
Yeah, I coached them last season, but they need me back again because the coach doesn't.
All right, you got my thing is you got two questions to ask me. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it's about. Ask me two questions.
I'm gonna have to adopt this.
Yeah. So when and I always say about the honesty, and not actually honesty and then politeness. I always talk about those two. Honesty and politeness. And if I feel as though you're being polite, then it only adds on to you. It means you got to ask more questions. But if you want to get it over with, you got to ask two questions that are things that you really, really want to know, but we're just too afraid to ask for whatever reason. So there's the pause. Oh yeah.
What was like the biggest change in your career that you had to like push forward?
That's a good question, fair question. Changing career was I had to go from a technical to a creative. And I grew up being a technical, meaning that there was a problem, you identify the problem, you solve the problem, you complete the problem, you're out the door. A creative is saying, what could happen? What are the possibilities and how can I make this happen? As opposed to, how can I fix something? And that was the friggin' hardest transition, because creatives do, however, problem solve as part of it, but they do more than problem solve. They actually have to come up with ideas, not just to not have another problem, but ideas in order to create a problem. Meaning, I want to photograph a building at night with all the lights on. And what if the lights are not on? How can I still make that happen? That's a creative. A technical says, hey, the lights are off. Let me go turn them on. So I had to come to grips with the fact that being a creative is more than just solving a problem.
It's connecting people to their emotions.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah.
You're in control of their emotions. And how do you do that? How do you get the message across visually, in my case, visually photography, that will say to them, and not only the message that I want them to hear, but the emotion that goes with it.
Right.
It's like if you read something on a text, you go like, okay, great, that's what it says. It's either black or white. But if you hear it from someone, then it becomes a connection.
Right.
The same thing happens when you look at a picture. When you look at a picture, you go like, okay, that is a picture of a mountain. All right, great. But when it has snow caps on it, and there's fog in the bottom of it, and there's a couple of people that are really, really tiny in the photo, in the image, that were wearing red that you can identify, and there's that clarity in foreground and the background, and there's that water that seems like it's moving off of the hill, then it becomes an emotional thing about how you compose, how you put that together in a composition, rather than there's a picture of a mountain, you know. So that's the creative aspect of it, and that's the part that I have come to enjoy quite a bit. All right, that's question number one. Let's get on to two because I went long-winded on that. I sound like a Barack Obama on that one. It's got to be honest.
Okay.
Yes, I see the smile. And if you don't ask it, you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I can't think of. Okay. I don't know what word it. Okay. This is probably too open-ended, but what have you learned from like your career that you emphasize the most to your kids?
To my kids.
Yes.
Now, I like that question.
That's a good question.
I really like that.
Repeat that question, please.
You're saying, what do I emphasize as far as my job of what I've learned throughout my work career
Yes.
that I then transfer or give back to my kids? Is, and this is one thing that I do tell my kids, is that you work hard to play hard. Number one. The only reason you're doing work is so you can garner money in order to do what it is you really want to do. Because work will, no matter how exciting it seems, will become mundane. No matter what it is, it will become mundane. But if you work to make it, you do it well enough, you do it consistently enough, then you'll get paid what you need in order to do the things that you really want to do. And eventually, when you get paid to do the things that you really want to do, then make that your work. So that's what I've told them. That's what I continue to tell them. Does that make sense? Tell me what you heard on that one.
I feel like I've heard other people say that, but in like a different way. They said, and I know there's a point where it is a job, but work so it doesn't feel like you're working. Like
You can't do that though.
right, that's what I'm saying. But like that's kind of You said find something that you.
There's a
You're
point.
passionate.
There's a point where in a certain part of working, especially from a creative standpoint, there's a certain part in the beginning of all the work that we do where work and play look like the same thing, right? In the beginning when we're concepting, right now, what the hell are we even doing, right? Are we working or are we playing right now, right? We're having this conversation.
Yeah.
The conversation is the play part. So the collaboration, that working together part in the beginning, and that usually lasts for, this is a lot, but this is a shorter amount of time in comparison to the actual doing of the work, right? But that beginning stage where you're getting to know each other, where you're trying to figure out what the problem is that we're trying to solve, what you're going to pass down to your children and all those things, that's the fun part, right? So it seldomly looks like work in the beginning. And then the work part comes in when you're actually having to perform and meet a deadline and put that work together for someone who's paying you or has paid you to actually get that done. So there is a part where it can be play as well as work, right? And you're showing up literally to play with people so that you can get ideas circulated to do the work against.
So walking in the studio every day is play for me. Sitting down at a computer and working,
Right. That's a whole
different deal.
whole different thing.
So that's one of the things that I say to my kids is that when you show up to work. It's got to be to work, so that you can then later on play.
But there's parts in there where there's play is necessary because there's no work without the idea part of it. And that doesn't matter if you're a creative or a banker. Bankers sit in boring ass meetings sometimes.
Yeah.
And they play with numbers and they play with ideas to figure out how our economy is going to work, how people where people are going to put their money and how to get that money from them, and then they go to work making it all happen.
Right.
So there is in every industry there's a part where we kind of looking outwards, receiving information.
But there is a thing that I do tell them, I point out to my kids about work and play. Is no matter which one you do, own your mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Own them. Don't pass them off to some freaking body else because they're gonna come back and bite you several times harder, deeper, and with more pain. You own it. The moment you own your mistake, hey, I did this, I screwed up. I can now play more. Or if I'm at work, I own it, I messed up, then I can correct it. But if I pass it along, then I may not get to work or play anymore.
And the hardest thing to realize, the hardest thing to do in that moment too, is to, while you're young, because you have adults telling you that it has to be right, things have to be right or as close to perfect as possible to our standards. You feel more pressure to not make mistakes while you're young. And then you learn that mistakes are necessary for progress when you're older, right? So I always tell my kids, the things you do now are going to shape the things that you do later, right? As far as conditioning yourself to make mistakes, or conditioning yourself to push past you're exhausted, or to push past that final idea, right? So the more comfortable you get with making mistakes now, no matter who's going to piss off, or what grade you're going to get from it, or even sometimes you're going to just fail and miss a deadline, right? The more comfortable you get with all of those things, once you're an adult, then they don't become more, they don't become easier to deal with. They just become necessary part of you having to grow through a phase to be able to get to where you're trying to get. So I wish I would have learned. I teach my kids all the time. I wish I would learn to make mistakes or been more comfortable with the
Mistakes. That's it.
Right.
Understand it as part of the process.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. For
I
sure.
just screwed up on something just a couple of days ago. With all of my experience, all my training, I didn't pull focus the way I should have, and I relied on the camera to do it without checking it. And by relying on something that I always teach people about, check the focus, check the composition, and I didn't do it. And that night I beat myself up so badly afterwards, after I went home and mentally beat my wife up. Now what does that mean? It means that when she was trying to show affection, I was showing rejection. And that's not good. But the thing about it, I came away from it, I go, wait a minute. You shot 1,000 images. You screwed up 3. 3 images of 1,000. Come on, dude. You got yourself a little bit of slack
Right.
here.
Right. And that's the second part of the mistake part. Is like once you make the mistake, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not.
the end of the world. I have a question for you though.
Okay.
At this stage right now, whatever your future looks like in your mind, what do you want to be known for? Just at this stage, it may change in 5 years. What do you
What
want
do
to be
I
known for?
right now?
Mhm.
Like,
What kind of work? What's your work going to be in the future?
I want it to, like, because right now when I make videos with my friends, they tell me all the time that they like rewatch them in class, like when they're bored. And, like the songs that I put in the videos reminds them of a trip that we had or of a memory that we had, and I just want to be part of that memory making process, I guess, for them, because the videos I like to watch them too, obviously, because it's like, oh, what was I doing 3 years ago today? I can just look that up and watch it. And so I just want to be a part of that for them too, I guess.
Right.
I want to give that to them.
And that's all we're really doing at the end of the day. And all of that is what we've been talking about this whole time, as far as from a branding standpoint,
Mhm.
a marketing standpoint. All of it is storytelling, right? And the fact that you want to be involved in other people's stories, you're actually creating your own story as well,
Mhm.
right? And you're establishing yourself as the person who can capture those stories for people, right? And that's not nothing, right? That's a lot. It's a big
Mhm.
thing. To actually want to be involved in the creation of the story is a big deal, because we all have them, and not always are we comfortable expressing it until someone makes us comfortable enough to do it and makes us safe enough to be ourselves while we're creating those stories and being ourselves, so they can film it and capture it and document it. So there's a lot that's actually happening in there that you may not know right now, right, that you're doing, because someone else out of your group couldn't pick up a camera and get the same effect from the people that you're getting, right? You pass the same camera, same equipment to someone else and teach them how to use it, and they're not going to get the same reactions from those friends, because not everybody has that thing that makes people comfortable sharing their story. So it's an important thing. So
I want to hear 2 things from you in the future. And when I talk about in the future, I'm talking about 15, 20 years from now. 2 phrases. 2. First phrase will be, quiet on the set. Number 1 phrase. I want to hear that from you in the future. And you're in the lower rung of things. And the next one I want to hear from you is action. That means you've moved up.
Right.
So that's what I want for your future.
Yeah.
I'm shutting up right now.